Hello friends, this is Vijay. In our today's Hindu Daily, we are going to see the list of topics which are in the display. The first topic, the Supreme Court transfers to itself all pleas related to the same-sex marriage. And its significance is in Prelims GS1, Mains GS1 and 2. Now let us dive into the topic. Here the heading, Supreme Court transfers to itself all pleas related to the same-sex marriage. Before getting into the topic, you should know some basic variants of the sexual relationship. The first one is homosexual and the another one is heterosexual. Okay. Homosexual and heterosexual. In heterosexual, it will be the relationship between the opposite sex. It will be a male-female combination. But in homosexual relationship, it will be the relationship between the same sex. It can be a male-male combination or female-female combination, or it can be a non-binary. Non-binary means generally in the gender scale, the male and a female will be positioned in the extremities. Between the male and female, there will be a lot of variations in the gender. Okay, so that's what the term the non-binary refers. So here in the PDF they have given that homosexuality refers to the attraction between the people who are the same sex. It comes from the Greek word homos. Homos means the same. It is a sexual orientation as opposed to a gender identity such as male, female and non-binary. Because there are two variations are there. Okay, so one is sexual orientation and the another one is gender orientation. I already told you the gender orientation that will be based on the gender scale. The male and female will be in the extremities. Between them, lot of other genders will be there. So those genders, okay, those genders which are locating in the gender scale between the male and female will be termed as a non-binary. Here, people are thinking that homosexual relationship is an outcome of the Western ideology, but it is not so, because even in the Indian landscape, we have been founding lot of facts in historical and mythical domains. The first one, Lord Ayyappa, you all well known, he is a child of Shiva, right? When Shiva combines with Mohini, Lord Ayyappa got his birth. Okay, Mohini is a avatar of Vishnu. Okay, you all well known. Shiva and Vishnu both belongs to the masculine gender, but Mohini is a form of the female avatar of Lord Vishnu. Okay, then Malik Kafur, he is one of the greatest commander in Indian history. He worked under Alauddin Khilji, so he conquered almost all the corners in India. So he also participated the homosexual relationship. Now there is a timeline of the major events. India's fight against the Section 377. Okay, here in the timeline you might have known the 1861, right, where the Section 377 was introduced by the British. Then in 1994, one of the earliest efforts to decriminalize the homosexuality by AIDS Bedbav Virodhi Andolan. Okay, they are the pioneer in taking the initiative against for the decriminalization of the Section 377. Then in 2001, NAS Foundation, they actually challenged the section's constitutionality and they filed the petition in the Delhi High Court. In the year of 2003, the same petition was dismissed by the Honorable Delhi High Court. And in the year of 2009, the same Delhi High Court, it decriminalizes the homosexuality on the grounds that it have been violating the article number 14, 15 and 21 of the Constitution. Then in 2012, the Supreme Court reverses the stand what it had been taken by the Honorable Delhi High Court. There, it doesn't mean the Supreme Court had been viewed this issue with a conservative mindset, because it stated very clearly in the judgment between 2009 to 2012, the parliament, if it thinks right, means they should come up with the act, but they hadn't. That's what actually we have been reversing the stand what it had been taken by the Honorable Delhi High Court. This is what they had stated in the judgment. But in the year of 2015, the Shashi Tharoor, the then MP, he introduced a private bill which seeks to decriminalize the homosexuality, but Lok Sabha quashes it. Then in the year of 2016, 5 LGBTQ activists, they moved the Supreme Court. Then in 2017, the Apex Court, it upheld the right to privacy as a fundamental right in the case of Puttasamy. So in the 2018, it again begins the hearing of decriminalizing the homosexuality. Then in the year of 2018, the Apex Court, they declared the section 377 as unconstitutional, and they declared that homosexuality is no more a crime in India. Like heterosexuality, adults who are having mutual consent can engage in the homosexual affair. Okay. Do you think the problem gets solved? No. Till now, it has been persisting in some other form. The homosexuality, even though the government and the Apex Court declared it as not a crime, but the people who are involving in the homosexual affair, they can't marry, because there is an absence of legal entitlement to their marriage. After the decriminalization of Section 377, the LGBTQ communities, they have been demanding for the expansion of the jurisdiction of the Special Marriages Act 1954, because they are thinking that under which they can get married. But according to them, the SMA 1954, which means the Special Marriages Act 1954, is ultra-vires to the Constitution, and they have been quoting that it have been violating the constitutional provisions, especially the Part 3 Fundamental Right, Article number 14 and 15. And they are also mentioning that it is not a gender neutral, because it have been encouraging the marriages, especially the heterosexual affairs between the partners, but not the homosexuality. This is what they have been arguing in the court. In this scenario, the Supreme Court, it had taken all the pleas which are waiting before the High Court. Okay, so that's up to this. Then the significance of extending Special Marriage Act 1954 to LGBTQ, with the extension of the jurisdiction, they can cohabitate and they can coexist together. And the second one, the adoption of children and surrogacy. Till today, the homosexual partners, they can't adopt the children. As a single parent, they can adopt the children. But it is not applicable for the partners, for both the partners who are involving in the homosexuality. By the extension of the Special Marriage Act 1954 to LGBTQ, they can adopt the children and they can groom up the children. And with respect to surrogacy also, the extension of the 1954 will be bringing some benefits, because they can hire the surrogate mother and they can give birth to the children. Then the third one, it will be governing the inheritance of property, then medical benefits to the spouses, etc. Then they can also do joint tax management and banking, because you might have known your parents might be having a joint bank account, right, for savings and all. So the same thing, even the LGBTQ can follow in the future if we are extending the provisions of SMA 1954. Then the fourth one, it will aid them to lead the dignified life, because dignified life is an intrinsic right which enshrined in the article number 21. Then the last one, economic and social entitlements. Each and every family in India, they will be having some economic and social entitlements from the government of India and the respective states. So by extending the provisions, we can ensure the economic and social entitlements what we are providing to the conventional families. And in the conclusion, almost 33 countries, they recognize the same-sex marriages through the legislation and judicial pronouncements. In the same way, India can also take a note from these countries, and the provisions of the SMA 1954 can be extended to the LGBTQ communities. Okay. Now let us dive into the next topic, friends. The crisis in the international law. The crisis in international law. Here, the author have been described the international law as a discipline of crisis. He had taken this note from some famous essay which was written before 2 decades. The recent phenomenon, the COVID-19 and the Russia's invasion, which have been highlighting the crisis dimension of the international law. Then, in the geo-economic challenges, the author have been discussing various challenges what the earth have been facing today. Let us discuss very briefly. Between the 1914 to 1918, you might have known the World War I was going on. So it resulted in the League of Nations. The ultimate objective of the League of Nations is to prevent the World War II. But in the year of 1939, with the Germany attack on Poland, the World War II broke out, and it ended in 1945 with a catastrophic disaster in the landscape of Japan, and UN came into existence after the 1945. Then, between the 1950, with the mandate of ensuring the universal peace, the UN started functioning, but the Cold War came into existence. In the Cold War, it was a bipolar world. It was between the communist USSR versus the capitalist USA. But with the disintegration of the USSR in the year of 1990s, from 1990 to 2020, it was a unipolar world where the multilateralism was promoted. It led to the relative harmony in the form of greater acceptance of democracy in almost all the countries around the world. Then various trade pacts were signed, and especially the WTO, it came into existence in this timeline, and the respect to the human rights were enhanced. Then there was a consensus on the international law, and the mutual respect also was upheld between the 1990 to 2020. But today the scenario started changing, and the earth have been facing various challenges. The first one, dwindling liberal and capitalist West. Because of the economic and the war pressure from the Ukraine, the Western countries have been withdrawing their positions, and the Russia also seems to be an expansionist, because without any warning to the Ukraine, they single-handedly initiated the war against them. So it have been causing the catastrophe in the European and the Asian landscapes. The third challenge is the rise of China, because China is having the staggering $1,400 billion in their reserves. Okay, $1,400 billion in their reserves. With this capital, they are doing a debt trap and credit diplomacy. So their influence have been expanding. It is not good for India, because India's interest and all will be affected with the expansion of the China. In this article, the author also have been discussing the challenge from both Russia and China, because both these countries, they have been gaming the international law. It is a negative term. Through this term, the author have been revealing that to further the interest of their own people, they have been affecting the interest of other people. Okay, and they didn't have a belief in the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the states. They are giving, both these countries are giving huge importance to their territorial integrity and sovereignty, but they didn't respect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of other foreign states. And Russia and China, they believe international law is not a universal one, but a cultural and civilizational distinctness alone universal. Like that, they are having a thought. Under the subheading International Economic Lawlessness, the author have been discussing the globe today. We are not only facing the challenge with the expansion of the Russia and the rise of China, but also from the USA. Because these days, USA have been backtracking the neoliberal consensus of the interdependence and non-discrimination. Because USA was the front runner in ensuring the interdependence and the non-discrimination. Non-discrimination, you might have known, it is a principle in WTO. Recently, they had introduced the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the act which have been promoting the clean energy. So the transition and all, it have been happening in the US landscape. For that, the US have been providing the massive leverages to the domestic industries rather than the international companies. Okay. Then in the populist challenge, the subheading populist challenge is there, right? Where the author have been discussing the challenges what we are facing today. It not only ended up with the backtracking of US, but we are also facing the various challenges from ethno-nationalist regimes like Hungary, Turkey, Poland and Israel, because they are highly ethnocentric and they are not respecting the rights of the minorities, which have been resulting in the skirmishes in this landscape. This is how the author have been discussing. And in the globalized world, each and every skirmishes will create some ripples in the network around the world. Okay, so that's what the author have been discussing in this article. Now let us dive into the another article. The article titled "Political Parties Are Not Like Companies." Here in this article, the author have been discussing how the analogy of the comparing political parties with corporations is misleading. In the introduction part, she have been comparing the leadership of the political parties with the CEOs. Generally in the corporations, the CEOs will be held responsible for the poor quarters, right? So that's what she have been discussing in the introduction part. And in the differences, she have been winding out major differences. The first one, in the political parties, generally the party is flooding with the volunteers, especially the informal party workers. Whereas in company, it have been functioning with the formal employees who are having the standard skill set. So this difference impacts the decision making in the political parties. Second, the purpose of the political parties is to capture the power and to promote the social welfare. And they are also a microcosm of the society. That's what she have been mentioning. Microcosm of society means they are a small entity of the total society. Then the purpose of the company, it is purely economic motive, and they will be managing the profits and they will be thinking of expanding the business by selling the goods and services. So this is the purpose of the company. Even though in the companies, certain cases, especially with respect to the top management, there will be some political judgments. Okay, but it won't reflect in the grassroots level. But in the political parties, the decision making is from the bottom layers, because the leadership and the decision making and all will be reflecting the desires of the grassroots level informal party workers. Arrangements. In the arrangements also, political parties are highly informal. But in corporation, they are highly formal and their functions and all streamlined with the verticals and horizontals. Okay, so this is what she have been discussing here. And under the title recent trend, she have been showing the corporatization and professionalization in the political parties. For that, she have been forecasting certain examples. The first one, anti-defection bill. In the anti-defection bill, the whip will be a guiding force, and he or she will be instructing the elected representatives of the party to work in a particular order. So by obeying the orders of the whip, the elected representatives will be functioning. This is what she have been mentioning as a example 1. And in the example 2, she have been quoting that with the help of the bureaucracy, CMs these days have been bypassing the elected representatives, especially the ministers. So they have been implementing their plans through the help of the bureaucrats. Here, actually, they have been bypassing the elected representatives, like that she have been mentioning. And also, the CMs these days, They also bypassing the political parties because their crucial decision making and all receiving inputs from the political consultants. So this is also a clear-cut example for the professionalization. In the corporates, the CEOs or managing directors, they will be taking the crucial decisions with the industrial consultants, right? However, instead of increasing the efficiency, this process have been degrading the public purpose. So this is what she have been mentioning. And in the conclusion, she is quoting that politics is a value-driven enterprises. We should seek the competence and accountability from the political functionaries, but the way forward is not through the corporatization of our parties. So this is what she have been mentioning. So we need to take certain glimpses from the party workers and the echelons in the party rather than taking inputs from the consultants. This is what she have been mentioning. Now let us dive into the next topic. The Supreme Court directs committee to build a framework to ensure the road safety. Okay. Before getting into the topic, let us discuss some basic facts. According to the NCRB data, recently NCRB had revealed some data where it mentioned that almost 1.5 lakh people, they died in the year of 2022. The major reason for the road mishap is overspeeding. The major contributor to road mishap is the overspeeding, and Tamil Nadu and Karnataka are the states which have been topping the list due to the overspeed. And Justice A.M. Sapri Committee, they are formed under the guidance of the Supreme Court. Recently, the Supreme Court, they directed its committee to tailor a framework for state-specific guidelines. Okay, because each and every state, they are having their own problems with respect to the road safety. So there is a need for tailoring the state-specific guidelines, especially for the electronic monitoring and enforcement of the road safety. These days, rather than enforcing the rules through the conventional methods, we have been incorporating the electronic modules into our monitoring systems. Then, Section 136A of the Motor Vehicles Act 1988. This provision, it came into existence through the Amendment Act 2019. Because in the year of 2019, there are a lot of provisions which infused into the Motor Vehicles Act 1988. So it relates to the electronic monitoring and enforcement of the road safety. Subsection 2 of the Section 136A, it mandated the center to make rules for electronic monitoring and enforcement of the road safety. The devices in electronic monitoring and road safety are the speed trap camera, then the closed circuit television, then body wearable cameras, etc. Apart from that, the Section 215A and B, which are in the Motor Vehicles Amendment Act, it relates to the function of electronic monitoring to states plus the formation of National Road Safety Board. This National Road Safety Board, they will be providing inputs to the Ministry of Roadways to design the road in such a way to minimize the accidents, and they will be providing inputs to the monitoring agencies like state police and highway patrols and all. Okay, therefore it is expected that with the meetup with the Transport Secretary, the Justice A.M. Sapri Committee will be coming up with a framework to ensure a road safety. Now let us see the measures what we can take for reducing the road accidents. The first one, we need to install the speed reduction devices. Example, in Delhi jurisdiction, the police and patrolling agencies have been using the radar guns. It is a handheld device which will monitor the speed of the vehicle in the distance itself. Okay. Then the imposition of the monetary penalties and recovering the vehicle from the speedsters. So this is also one of the measure. Then the third one, build quality of the vehicles produced in India need to be enhanced, and the safety system and all need to be aligned with the Euro standards. Recently, the government issued the guidelines to ensure the 6 safety airbags in every vehicle. Okay, so this is falling in line with the Euro standard. Here in the image, you can see the structure of the vehicle after the impact. It is a recent accident in Tamil Nadu. You can see the structure of the vehicle. It is completely, the structure is completely destabilized after the impact. So it proves the substandard build quality from the car makers, right? So we need to enhance the build quality of the vehicle. And the fourth one, we need to encourage the vehicle producers to get 5-star in NCAP ratings. Only few vehicles from India, they got 5-star in NCAP ratings. Then in the design perspective, we need to ensure the dedicated pedestrian pathways and feeder roads all along the highways. We can find pedestrian pathways and feeder roads in the national highways, but not in the state highways. So therefore, we need to ensure the pedestrian pathways all along the roads. Then inducting state-of-art technology for the flawless road construction. In certain cases, the design and structure of the road also have been playing a role in creating the accidents. So to eliminate the flaw in the road construction, we need to induct the state-of-art technology from the European and American countries. Then there is a need to eliminate the potholes, and we need to keep the visible signboards. These are the measures we need to take to reduce the road accidents. And apart from that, you should know one fact. It is a last fact to this topic. Between 3 p.m. to morning 3 a.m., almost 40% of the accidents are happening in India. Okay. So we should be very aware while driving the vehicle in this time period. Now let us dive into the last topic. The article titled Remote Work Helped in Saving Jobs During COVID, the ILO report. The ILO is a UN organization. It is an outcome of the Treaty of Versailles 1919. Okay. It is the only tripartite agency which brings the government, employers and workers on board. And they have been releasing various reports. The first one, Global Wage Report. The second one, World Employment and Social Outlook Report. And World Social Protection Report. These three reports are very important from the perspective of the UPSC Prelims. And whenever you are studying about the ILO, please remind the facts what they are mentioning in these reports. Let me discuss the related facts in the upcoming news analysis. Then the functions of the ILO, they are actually formulating the certain standards and they are encouraging the countries to adopt the labor standards. Then they are coordinating with various agencies for the implementation of the UN related policies and programs from the labor domain. Then they are also providing assistance to various member states and they are also involving in the human rights protection. Then the findings of the report. Actually, the report focused on the working hours and working time. It mentioned that almost 1/3 of the workers, they have been working for more than 48 hours in a week. And 1/5 of the workers, they have been working as a part-time employees and they have been working for less than 35 hours every week. So this is what the report have been revealing, and in the conclusion they had given that the great resignation phenomenon has placed work-life balance at the forefront of social and labor market issues in the post-pandemic world. Okay, so this is what they had given in the conclusion part. It was said by John Messenger, the lead author of the report. So that's it, friends. Let us dive into the prelims and mains question part. The first question, it is related to the ILO. ILO is the only tripartite agency under UN. This is true, and it is an outcome of the 1919 Treaty of Versailles. Then the second one, Global Risk Report is published by ILO. Global Risk Report, it is published by World Economic Forum. It is not getting published by ILO. So the second statement is wrong. And the answer option 1 is the right one. And the second one, it is related to the current affair. The Luhansk recently appeared in news, which is located in which of the following countries? Actually, By seeing the name itself, you can eliminate Spain and Poland. Okay, because of the Ukraine-Russian war, Luhansk have been appearing in the news, and Luhansk is located in the Ukraine, and it is one of the provinces in Ukraine. All right. Now let us dive into the mains question. Despite the amendment 2019 made to the Motor Vehicles Act 1988, steep rise in accidents have been witnessed in recent years. Critically analyze the provisions of the Motor Vehicles Amendment Act 1988 and enumerate the steps to be taken to reduce the accidents in Indian landscape. You should know what are the amendments we made through the Amendment Act 2019 to the Motor Vehicles Amendment Act 1988. Just surf it in Google, and I already told you what are the measures we can take to reduce the accidents in Indian landscape. If you are clubbing these two parts, means the answer will come for this question. Okay friends, thank you for your patience. Let me catch you in another news analysis tomorrow. Bye.